So I know in the last video I talked about scriptures that said something about beating your plowshares into swords. Um, Hold on. Because there's a reversal to that as well. Because there's a time to beat your swords into plowshares and to grow grain and to grow all these different things that God said to do, right? So there's a time to fight and there's a time not to fight. So I just want to read a scripture to you, and it is Isaiah chapter 2. And for all of you MAGA supporters who think that this Messiah is coming in the human flesh, you're wrong. So Trump is not your Messiah. I know you think that he is the second coming of Jesus Christ to you. However, that's not what the scriptures say. First, I'm going to give this, and I'm going to go all the way down, and then I'm going to make it bigger so I can read it, because I don't have my glasses on. Where are my glasses? Okay. Just so that you know that I am actually telling you the truth about where this came from. Okay? So in the scriptures it says, the word that Isaiah, the son of Amoz, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the last days. And we are absolutely not talking about the state of Israel. Okay? The state of Israel is not the Israel of the Bible. Just let me get that clear. It says, in the last days, notice, in the last days, the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations, and shall flow to it. Many people shall go and say, come and let us go up to the mountains of the Lord, in the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. So in those days, swords and spears were their fighting weapon of choice. But in this scripture, it's telling them to redesign those fighting shears or fighting swords into plowshares to grow food, right? That's in a time of peace. But there's another scripture in the Bible that does the exact reverse of that. Okay? It says, nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, nor shall they learn war anymore. O house of Jacob, come and let us walk in the light of the Lord. In the day of the Lord. For you have forsaken your people, the house of Jacob. So this is an admonishment of future events, right? This was the past at one point, and this is the future. Okay? You have forsaken your people in the house of Jacob because they have replenished from the east and are soothsayers like the Philistines. Who's a soothsayer? Who do you consider a soothsayer? Let's talk modern day. And they please themselves with the children of strangers, and their land also is full of silver and gold, and there is no end to their treasures. Their land is also full of horses, and there is no end to their chariots. Let's turn that into modern day. What would a chariot be? It'd be your cars. Their land is full of idols, and they worship the work of their own hands and that which their own fingers have made, and the common man bows down. Who's been bowing down? And the great humble and the great man humbles himself, therefore do not forgive them. So who's bowing down, and to what regime are they bowing down? So when a great man is talking about somebody of power, so like your Jeff Bezos and people like that, Elon Musk and all of those bowed down, right? So this is modern day speak, breaking the scripture down. Enter into the rock and hide in the dust from the fear of the Lord and from the glory of his majesty. The lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of man shall be bowed down, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. So that so-called Messiah that's coming to wreak havoc and the end of days and judgment, it's not Trump. Sorry to say, MAGA, that's not him. For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon everything that is proud and lofty. So when you see these people on the news smirking and laughing, just Trump and all of his administration thinking this is all fun and games, proud and lofty. No humility, proud and lofty. Thinking you're exalted above, right? It says, the lofty, let me see, hold on. I lost my place. It says, enter into the rock and hide in the dust from the fear of the Lord and from the glory of his majesty. The lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon everything that is proud and lofty, and upon everything that is lifted up, and it shall be brought low. Meaning, it's going to be destroyed. So all those thinking that Trump is your Messiah, and it will be upon all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up. So in those days, it was Lebanon. So now we have everything replays itself, right? Because there's a time to it keeps on coming back. So in those days, it might have been Lebanon, but just think in the terms of today. And upon all the oaks of Bashan, and upon all the high mountains, and upon all of the hills that are lifted up, and upon all the high towers, and upon every fenced wall, they're creating fenced walls, right? With barbed wire. And upon all the strips of Tarshish, and upon all pleasant slopes, the loftiness of man shall be humbled. And the haughtiness of men shall be brought low. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day. And the idols he shall utterly abolish. They've created Trump to be an idol. Not just Trump, but other things too. But I'm not going to get into all that. They shall go into the holes of the rocks and into their caves of the earth, and from the fear of the Lord. So when it talks about going into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth, they're talking about bunkers. They're talking about these bunkers that a lot of white supremacists have. They've created bunkers because they're only thinking about what men's weaponry is, and they're not talking about they don't understand the sophistication and the intelligence of the divine creator's weaponry. They're only thinking things that they themselves have created. So they're going into these bunkers, right? And from the glory of his majesty, when he shall arise to shaken the earth mightily, in that day a man shall cast away his idols, his silver, and his idols of gold, which they made for themselves to worship. Because remember, right now, these white supremacists are creating, and I'm talking modern day, because this has happened before. I'm talking modern day. These white racists are creating God in their own image instead of them being created in God's image, okay? In the moles and to the bats, to enter the caverns of the rocks, and into the clefts of the cliffs, from the terror of the Lord, and from the glory of his majesty, when he arises to shake in the earth mightily. I could go on and on and on with scriptures. When you think you know what the end time is going to be like, and when you think that you're the one bringing it, or you know who's bringing it, Trump is not bringing it. Trump is the harlot of Revelation. So those of you that are wishing for end times, oh, you shouldn't be wishing. You should not be wishing. You should not be wishing for what's about to come. You should not. Absolutely not.